Hi, I'm Nat. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're not, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you exactly how I make drawings like these in under an hour. Now, before we start, if you end up enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. These videos take a surprisingly long time to write, record, edit, and draw for, so every bit of support genuinely helps. Alright, let's draw something. You can follow along if you'd like to. First things first, the program I use is Ibis Paint X. I've been using it for years now, and every time I try another drawing app, I somehow end up crawling back to Ibis. It's simple, it runs all on my phone, and I know where everything is. I usually spend a few minutes scrolling on Pinterest until I see a pose, a color palette, or an outfit, or even just a vibe that inspires me. Now, and this is important, I don't copy what I find, I use it to spark an idea. References are your friend. Every professional artist uses them. Seriously. Use references. Once I have an idea, I make a new canvas. I usually use one of the vertical paper presets, and I almost never sketch on pure white. Instead, I use a cool gray or a light blue because it's easier on my eyes, and it lets me judge values a little better. Now comes the thing that completely changed the way I draw poses, the line of action. If you've never heard of it before, it's basically just one line that shows the movement of the whole body. I usually use the curved line because I like making my characters look energetic. It immediately tells you where the weight is. If you're more experienced, you might use things like the golden spiral or the rule of thirds to plan your composition, especially if you're drawing backgrounds too. Sometimes I just draw what feels right. Art isn't a science, and it's okay to eyeball things. Now for the anatomy. This is probably the part that scares people the most, but you don't have to stress about making everything perfect. If you want a basic guide, the average adult is around 8 heads tall, the torso is about 3 heads, the legs are around 4, the arms are about 3, and the shoulders are usually around 3 head widths. Different characters should have different proportions. Kids are shorter, and fantasy creatures can be whatever you want. Stylized art breaks these rules all the time. Take a look at chibi characters. Once you understand the basics, you can bend them however you like. That's where style comes from. One thing that helped me improve a lot was twisting those proportions around instead of only drawing people standing straight. Have them leaning, looking up, looking down, or throwing a punch. The more you rotate your body in your sketches, the easier perspective becomes when you actually try. Also, please don't spend 2 hours making your sketch beautiful. Nobody's going to see it. Seriously, as long as you understand what you meant, it's doing its job. Once I'm happy with the sketch, I move on to line art. Instead of using pure black, I usually pick the darkest color from my palette and then make it even darker. Using colored line art makes everything feel softer and helps tie the whole illustration together. After that, put in your flat colors, just getting every section blocked in. This part is honestly kind of relaxing. Now, onto the actual point of the video. How do I render everything without spending 5 hours on it? The answer is multiply layers and addition layers. If you haven't experimented with layer modes before, please do. It genuinely improved my art like 1,000,000 times over, and they save so much time. Now, I'd make a new layer above my flats and clip it to the layer beneath. Then I'd change it to multiply. That's where all my shadows go. Most of the time, I use a dark purple instead of plain gray or black because it keeps the colors looking richer to avoid pillow shading. Here's probably the biggest shortcut I use. After I finish my flats, line arts, and shadows, I put them all into one folder and then I make another clipped layer and change that one to add. That's for my lighting. I usually use a pale yellow, sometimes a warm orange for even brighter lights. Sometimes even a cool blue depending on where the light is coming from. The important thing is choosing colors that fit the scene instead of automatically reaching for white. Now I grab a soft airbrush and gently fade the light across whichever side the light source is hitting. Then I'll lightly hit the edges of the clothes, hair, shoulders, and cheeks, anywhere the light would naturally catch. It's surprisingly simple, but it makes a huge difference. Now it's time for all the tiny things that make a drawing feel alive. For hair, I always draw a few strands outside of the line art. Real hair isn't perfectly neat, so those little flyaways always make it feel much more natural. I also like adding brighter highlights to the hair instead of making it lighter. Another thing I almost never do is leave the whites of the eyes actually white. I'll usually tint them slightly blue or slightly yellow, depending on the palette. It's a tiny detail, but I think it makes the characters feel less flat. Then comes the blush. Even characters who aren't embarrassed usually get a little bit. I also add highlights around the lower eyelids, the tip of the nose, sometimes the lips, just the little touches that make the face look a little more dimensional. For the body, I like adding highlights around the shoulders, chest, hips, and anywhere bones or muscles naturally catch the light. Big difference. Clothing used to confuse me so much, and now I keep it simple. Fabric folds wherever it's being pulled, around the elbows, knees, the waist, the chest. At this point, the drawing is basically finished. Now, just have fun. Sparkles, extra eye highlights, little accessories, maybe some light particles are floating around for more wholesome pieces, whatever fits the piece. I also keep in mind that different materials reflect light differently. For example, metal is shinier than cloth, and glass behaves differently from skin. Those little differences make a drawing feel much more believable. One final trick I like to use is making the characters stand out from the background. I'll add an outline around them or make the character slightly more saturated than everything else. It naturally pulls your eyes towards the main subject, exactly where you want people looking. And that's basically my process. Obviously, there's no single correct way to make art. I'm still learning new things all the time. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's that you don't need expensive software or years of experience to make art you're proud of. I mean, I literally draw on my phone with my finger. You just need to keep drawing. If you have any questions about my process, or if there's another kind of video you'd like me to make, let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in getting your own artwork from me, my commission information is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!